Hey guys, it's John back again, and I have another question here from Jenny Brown, who is someone who lives pretty close to me, actually. um, since we're getting closer to Halloween, I thought I'd ask you about ghosts. Are they real, or is that something that is fear-based? Can loved ones from the other side send us signs? I had my own experience shortly after my uncle died. My dog started barking at the middle of the room, staring at something that wasn't there, and at the same time, the tablecloth was pulled off the table and thrown across the room. It never happened again, but was the weirdest thing I ever experienced. My son was there and saw it too. I know it wasn't just me seeing things. Yes, I love this question, especially because it is Halloween, and why not? Let's do something Halloween-y. But I'm going to pull from several of the videos I've done to kind of explain this. I'm going to start with the Trinity video where I talked about the idea of the God consciousness, the individual self consciousness that is a part of the God consciousness, and then the physical plane, which is us coming down into this space. But it's all connected as one. When we raise in consciousness, our physical body is left behind. We move into what I would call the Holy Spirit consciousness, or the soul. Basically, the Holy Spirit consciousness comes into human form to experience this form, but that is what I would define as the soul. When we leave this body, the body gets left behind. We ascend into the higher self, or Holy Spirit self consciousness, and the transition time between here and there is dependent very much upon our beliefs, our fears. Because when you look at people who've crossed over, had near-death experiences, people who are devoutly Christian see Christian imagery as they cross and experience that. People who are Hindu see Hindu imagery, so on and so forth. People who believe that they're going to burn in hell usually experience something that looks like a hell to them. The people who stay in near-death experiences longer tend to surpass this, and then they come back saying that they felt the most unconditional love they've ever felt in their life. They surpass this imagery. Well, if you think about what that is, this is us going across to the other side, carrying our beliefs with us. And how long we stay in that imagery really depends on how deeply those beliefs are held, right? I do believe there are people who are so afraid of death that they get to the other side and they take a long time to transition, a long time to, quote unquote, go into the light, right? I believe there are people who do stay in that fear-based space for a long time. They're lost in that the ethers, as it were. But I think it's just a prolonged transition is all it really is. I think eventually they do make it. It is also my belief about things like Alzheimer's and dementia. I believe that is a slow death that's happening. I've had experiences where people, well, to give an example, my ex-wife's great uncle was deep into Alzheimer's, and they brought him to my ex-wife's grandmother's house for a dinner, and they get to the house, and he says, "Where's Dorothy?" And her aunt says, "Well, Uncle Lou, Aunt Dorothy died several years ago." He says, "Well, who was that in the car then?" See, I believe he was actually seeing her in the car because he was transitioning, in the process of transitioning. I know it's another member of my family who is in those stages now, and he recently had someone who had crossed over years ago say, "I'm calling you," to him. And so I really think that dementia and Alzheimer's is a slow transition into death and crossing over. Just like I believe when you get on the other side, you can be a slow transition to the next place too. And I think that a lot of people, when they cross over, have that imagery of "I'm not leaving," and they just stay there for a very long time. But I do believe they eventually transition out of that. To give you an example, I think there are some people who cross over and wish they had said something to someone. And I believe that they will do whatever they can to, as your question asks, contact from the other side. How did you say this? Can they send us signs? Well, I'm going to tell you a very interesting story. I know this story well because this story happened to me. I was home visiting my parents, and I was staying in their guest room, and their guest room was an interior room. And when the doors and the windows were shut, that room was pitch black at 2 p.m. Pitch black, dark room. So at nighttime, when the lights were all out, it was really, really dark. It was like, oh my gosh, right? And I was in that room, going to sleep, pitch black, and I started seeing a light in the room. And the more I started focusing on the light and seeing the light, that light took form into the shape of a person. And then it never did any more than look like a light in the shape of a person. And then I heard a consciousness. I heard a contact in my brain. I heard somebody else's thought, basically. That's the way I describe it. And he says, and I knew that this was my cousin who had committed suicide. And I knew that was him. And I knew it clearly that was him. And then I got the thought put into my head, you need to tell Mom that I'm in a better place. So I had this in my head now. My cousin came across, told me I needed to tell his mother that he's in a better place. That weekend, Sunday morning, I woke up in the house, and my mom was at the church, of course. My father was on the golf course, of course. And I was the only one in the house, with the exception of my aunt, who was visiting, was out in the kitchen having breakfast or lunch or something. And I was like, ooh, how do I broach this subject? And pardon me. I walked into the kitchen, and I sat down and got myself some coffee, and I sat down. I was just chit-chatting, and I said, do you believe in auras? I just started with that. And then she and I had a little conversation about that, and she kind of told me some metaphysical things that had happened to her when she was in Peru. And after she told me her very big metaphysical stories, I said, well, that's why I wanted to ask you about auras, because I saw the aura, and which, for lack of a better word, of, and I used her son's name. And before I could say anything else, she said, is he in a better place? I said, that's why what he told me to tell you, that he's in a better place, and you can stop worrying about that. And, of course, she was coming from originally from a Catholic background, and suicide is a sin. And so there was that. She had those kind of concerns. But I saw what would be described as a ghost, right? I saw a glowing light that spoke to me in a certain way. So, and I believe absolutely 100% that when people cross over, they can absolutely 100% contact us. And if you think about what Jeshua did when he died, when he came back, in the Bible, he actually tells people not to touch him because he hasn't fully manifested the body. He actually says that in the Bible, right? So he himself was bringing his body to and from and showing us things. And, Paul supposedly had his conversion because he never met Jesus in life, never met Jeshua in life. So he had his conversion by seeing a vision of him on the road to Damascus. So what was that? Was that Jeshua coming down and manifesting himself as a ghost to give a message? Probably, right? Now, if you talk about sending messages, my mother, devout Catholic, would not believe in any of the for lack of a better word, woo-woo stuff, right? My mother has come through a channel, a medium, multiple times, and very obviously my mother saying things that exactly only we would know, saying things that we had questions about and answering them before we even asked the question, and come through multiple times. So my mom is already giving us messages from the other side. I know that when I sit out here in my living room and I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book right now. So as I'm writing this book, every so often my mom will pop into my head, and I know, and I feel her presence in the room saying, "Yep, I'm here." And I have a picture of her on my mantle. And when that happens, I turn and I look at the picture, and she's got this little smile on her face, and it's just like, "Yep, I'm here." It's kind of funny, right? So the idea really is are there ghosts? I believe ghosts are just another term for us in a out of body state, in a lower vibrational out of body state, so that we can actually interact with the physical plane, still carrying a lot of our earthly personality. I believe that it's very logical in that we all go to the other side, we all transition to that space, and I know Joshua, when he manifested himself, but did not stay here. And then I also know that Hindu gurus to this day talk about how they can project their consciousness and manifest. Well, when your consciousness is fully out of body, what's to stop you from still contacting or communicating, or still actually manifesting the body in visions and auras, as I saw? So I absolutely 100% believe. Now, as far as the tablecloth thing, why not? All of this is pure illusion anyway. And if all of this is pure illusion, there should be no reason why the energy of the consciousness and the energy of the tablecloth could not be affected together, especially if you have focused thought to do it. Now, the one part about this that I do want to tap into, are they real or something that is fear-based? Here's the really interesting part of this. Fear-based is your lowest earthbound self consciousness, right? They are on the other side. There absolutely is fear-based belief about ghosts because of the fact that we don't understand it. So we see things that, oh my God, there's a ghost, we get scared. The idea of evil ghosts or demons, which being that I have released this information from my past life, I get messages all the time from people, claiming that I'm doing the devil's work and demons are going to come get me, or I'm a demon, or all kinds of stuff. I don't buy into any of it because I don't believe in fear, and I believe the fact that they're using fear means they're terrified. But the interesting thing is the fear-based elements about the people who've crossed over and the dead are all earth-based belief. They're coming from the other side. They're having a different experience coming here. And we wrap our stuff around it. But you got to remember, our beliefs are also creative. So if something's coming from the other side, even out of love, and we wrap our belief around it being evil, then we will begin to manifest things that appear to be evil in our world, in our experience. And so that is my belief about ghosts. And I hope that answers your question, Jenny Brown. And you too, little tut. And I hope hope that gives you guys something to chew on for a little while. And thank you for the suggestion. This is a great one right before Halloween. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.